Hello everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and in today's video we will be talking about political ideologies. So in our last video we talked about three political ideologies, which were socialism, communism and liberalism, and in today's video we will be talking about the next three political ideologies, which are very important from the perspective of CSS and PMS. But before we move forward, we must brush up our memory regarding what is political ideology. So as we discussed in our last video, political ideology is basically a set of rules, regulations, values, beliefs that govern the society, that help the citizens understand how the relationship between them and the state exists and what kind of political system they want to achieve. So, political ideology is basically a philosophical anchor that helps a political system move forward, and it helps to build a strong relationship between the state and the citizenry, which encompasses different aspects of their life. That could be either law, economy, or just the social life of the citizens. So the first political ideology that we'll be discussing today is conservatism, and conservatism in simple words refers to the system of tradition. It is a system which believes in upholding institutional values of family, limited role of government, and upholding the traditions of forefathers. And if we move forward and talk about the major objectives of conservatism, it strongly believes in authority, yet it advocates for a very limited government. So basically the authority is manifested in upholding the values, upholding the family traditions, upholding the way that institutions work. So basically, if you look at conservatism from the perspective of UK's political system, you can understand it in a better way, where we see that still the conventions are followed very strongly, and where the Conservative Party in UK believes in all these characteristics as I mentioned. For example, they believe in conserving the established norms and practices, they believe in maintaining social order, authority, traditions, and they believe in limited government intervention. So the point of limited government intervention is the distinguishing point, which highlights the role of conservatives in today's world, and it focuses much on preserving the cultural heritage, the social norms. For example, we see that traditional family values could be chosen as one of the aspect of conservatism to drive the politics. At the same time, limited government is something that is also supported in conservatism. One very important point about conservatism is that it believes in gradual change. It believes in an evolution rather than in a revolution. So whenever we talk about conservatism, it is important to remember that it is against radicalism, and it supports evolution more than revolution. And if we talk about conservatism from the perspective of CSS and PMS exams, so for UK, for the political system of UK, the idea or the political ideology of conservatism is very important. And with the context of Pakistan, I've just given an example. Critically examine the relevance of conservative political thought in the context of modern Pakistani society. So when you talk about the political system in Pakistan, we see the debate of how conservative politics is at its peak, where we talk about our family traditions, our values, and in one way or another our politicians, either in assembly or whenever they're addressing the people, they kind of bring up these debate to kind of shift the attention of people towards a more conservative approach towards politics. So in that respect, this is very important. So the second political ideology is fascism, and fascism means the system of authoritarian power. And if we talk about the definition of fascism in simple words, it means authoritarian rule and extreme nationalism. So authoritarian rule can also be defined as dictatorship, and nationalism can also be defined as national supremacy. And if we talk about the major characteristics of fascism, it believes in glorifying war, it believes in strict discipline, and it believes in the idea of survival of the fittest and might is right. And it also believes in blind loyalty to the state. In fascism, we see that the value of the individual is not very important. The state is more important than the individual. And it is also important to understand the difference between communism and fascism, because there are a few similarities between the two, but they are not the same. So communism believes in an international idea of overthrowing the proletariat, and in and in granting the rule of the bourgeois, and in abolishing the classless society internationally. But fascism does not have international or global aspirations. It believes in national supremacy. It believes in extreme nationalism. But at the same time, we see that both fascism and communism also have certain similarities. For example, both of these political ideologies have flourished during hard economic times. Um, in Italy, we see when fascism was on its rise, it was a time when the war was happening, when the World War I was happening, and it was also a transitioning period where people wanted a charismatic leader to come forward and to guide them. So at that time, we see that Mussolini came forward, and with the idea of fascism, he kind of, mobilized the people. And at the same time, we see that in USSR, there have been different leaders like Stalin and Lenin with the idea of communism, with their versions of communism. They kind of mobilized the people and gained their support. So, like through case studies or historical examples, we can explain the similarity. And at the same time, as I mentioned before, that fascism gives more importance to the state, and so does communism. So both fascism and communism believe that the state is the end. Um, Whereas if we compare it with liberalism, we get to see that in liberalism, the state is a means to an end, and the greater end is individual liberty. But in fascism and communism, the state is the greater end. The state is given more is given more importance, and that is how the political system works. And in both these political ideologies, we see that one party system is supported. So, one party system, in the sense of democracy or a liberal ideology, is considered as very harmful for the rights of the people. And now, if we talk about its relevance to CSS and PMS exams, so of course, we can always get questions from historical perspective. And most of the times, we see that the ideas or the characteristics of fascism are picked up and they are related with current political systems. It could be asked with reference to Pakistan, with respect to India, or with respect to even Bangladesh, or any country where any kind of conflict or authoritarian rule is rising. So the last political ideology for today is anarchism, and anarchism in simple words means the system of stateless freedom. So the symbol of the circle and the letter A in it represents anarchism. It is the symbol of anarchism. And if we talk about further definition or further explanation of anarchism, it talks about absolute freedom, and it talks about a completely stateless society. Anarchism is a political ideology which does not believe in the functioning of state, in the idea of state or government. It believes in the idea of the citizens being important, the citizens being superior, and the citizens being the masters of their own fate. It believes in the idea of power to the people. It is an anti-state and anti-capitalist political ideology where there is no government, there are no rules, and there is no authority. And anarchist movements are such movements which have been a very important part of political system all over the world. For example, here I've shared a picture where people are saying whoever they vote for, we are ungovernable. So anarchists are those people who completely negate the idea of state, the idea of people being governed, or the idea of having any external authority. So with respect to CSS and PMS, we see that anarchism is important because it can be asked in, often MCQs related to anarchism are asked in the MCQs. And also the major idea of anarchism, like, is it applicable? Can it be followed in a country like Pakistan? Or is anarchy the solution to the the challenges that people are facing today or not? So in that respect, anarchism is very important, and we must have the basic idea of what it basically means. So the difference between the three political ideologies has been discussed in this table, and this table is very important because it helps us understand the fundamentals of the three political ideologies that we have discussed today. And if we focus on the fourth point, which is society and order, that is very important, and that helps us understand the crux of these three political ideologies. For example, in anarchism, we see that voluntary cooperation is supported, which means that people do not want any external force or any external authority telling them to do something, right? So it is something that people want to do. Anarchists are those people who believe that if they want to cooperate with the state, with the citizens, they would do it voluntarily, right? Where citizens are given more importance, or citizens want that they must be given more importance, right? And in conservatism, we see that social order through institutions is promoted. So the idea of hierarchy being preserved, institutions being superior must be followed in conservatism, and that is how law and order in society is achieved. And if we talk about fascism, in fascism we talked about dictatorship, right? So that dictatorial aspect is supported by fear. So fear is induced in the minds of the people. The leadership kind of perpetuates fear in the minds of the people to maintain law and order in society. So I think that the aspect of society and order is very important and is something that helps us understand the major differences and the major idea of these three political ideologies. So you can have a look and you can understand what these characteristics talk about. So, in the end, it is important to know that no political ideology is perfect. At different point in time, different leaders and different countries have followed different political ideologies to achieve their goals, and it has helped them in one way or another. So, being the students of CSS and PMS, it is very important to approach these political ideologies with a broad mind and with a very balanced approach. So, I also have a question for you now. Which political ideology do you think would suit Pakistan, or which political ideology do you think Pakistan should follow? And the next two political ideologies will be discussed in the part 3 of my video, which I will be sharing soon. Till then, I would request you all to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.